Greetings, welcome to W9U4 Criterion 8 Continuous Improvement. In the last unit, we understood the SER requirements of Criterion 7, facilities and technical support. The outcome of this unit is understand the SER requirements of Criterion 8 continuous improvement. As we have emphasized in the earlier units on the general principles of outcome based education, continuous improvement is a key aspect of the outcome based education. Closing the quality loop, that is, we plan, then we do, then we monitor, and then we must close the quality loop. So, we must look at improvement on all the parameters concerned as an essential activity that must be carried out. So, continuous improvement is extremely critical to ensure that the quality of the programs is maintained, improved, sustained, all these aspects. So, this criterion is concerned with continuous improvement. The total marks allocated to this criterion, its sub-criteria, the required processes and the exhibits are all the same for both Tier 1 and Tier 2 institutes. However, the marks allocated to the sub-criteria are different for two of the sub-criteria as shown in the next slide. Again, we will look at the detailed breakup of the marks for Tier 1 institutes only. Please refer to the NBA website updates regarding the detailed breakup of the marks for Tier 2 institutes. So, the sub criteria, there are 4 of them. 8.1 is actions taken based on the results of evaluations of the COs, POs and PSOs. 8.2 is academic audit, and 8.3 is improvement in faculty qualifications and contributions, and 8.4 is improvement in academic performance. As you can see, for 8.3 and 8.4 the marks are interchanged. For 8.3 it is 15 for Tier 1 and 10 for Tier 2. For 8.4 it is 10 for Tier 1 and 15 for Tier 2. So, in these two sub criteria the marks are different. Then 8.1 actions taken, corrective actions taken, it has two sub criteria again. One of them is concerned with the CO attainment, the other is concerned with PO PSO attainment. So, 8.1.1 is actions taken based on the results of evaluations of the CO attainment, that is 20 marks, and the next one actions taken based on the results of evaluation of the PO PSO attainment, that is again 20 marks, together 40 marks. So, the first sub criterion is closing the quality loop with respect to COs, POs and PSOs, that is taking corrective actions based on the results of evaluation of the attainment of COs, POs and PSOs. So, there are 20 marks for COs case and 20 marks for POs and PSOs. Otherwise, it is the same nature of consideration. Identify the areas of weakness in the program based on the analysis of evaluation of COs attainment levels. Notice that the attainment of a CO is against the set target for the attainment levels. This has been discussed in the earlier units. We set a target for the CO, then provide the instruction, do the assessment, and then we determine what is the actual CO attainment level. The CO attainment level might be less than the actual attainment level, is equal to the less than the set target level, might be equal to the target level, or might exceed that also. But we have a target, then we have the actual attainment value computed. By comparing these two, we take appropriate actions. So, the measures identified and implemented to improve the CO's attainment levels for the assessment year CYY -1. Now, notice that even if the set target is met, there would be an action taken. For example, to enhance the target level, because we have been able to achieve this level, can we increase and become more ambitious and set a higher target level for the next academic year? It is possible. So, basically we are talking of taking actions based on comparing the target level and the attainment levels. It is not necessary that only when the attainment level falls below the target level we need to act on it. Even when we achieve a target level, we might wish to enhance the target level, or we might wish to retain the same target level until the activities get stabilized. That is also possible. But whatever actions you take, please record them with appropriate justification, the deliberations that have taken place, and the final conclusion that you have done with respect to that particular CO. Same thing happens with respect to POs and PSOs also. Now, what are the actions that can be initiated as corrective actions when the CO attainment levels are not reaching the set target levels? They could be curriculum interventions, bringing in some additional topics for further discussion, or elaborating the time spent on some particular units. So, there could be curriculum interventions, changing the teaching methodologies, bringing in some special innovative teaching techniques like project based learning or problem based learning. There could be pedagogical initiatives like that. Then support system improvements, for example, the facilities in the laboratories or the mentoring supports that are provided. Any of these and more could be taken as the measures to improve the attainment levels of CO. So, document evidence of identification of gaps in CO's attainment, then plan of action to bridge the gaps and improvement. Notice, as I mentioned, it is possible that the attainment level actually exceeds the target level. So, there are no gaps. Even then, we must record that fact and see what is the action that we would like to take up, like increasing the target levels. Of course, most often there are attainment gaps, so we need to have corrective actions. Then evidence that they have been implemented, that is at the end of a semester, if there has been a particular plan for improving the attainment levels, for example, a pedagogical initiative has been planned, like they would like to bring in think, pair, share as a technique for improving the attainment. That is a pedagogical initiative that they would like to implement with respect to that particular course. Now, did it really happen next time the course was offered? This is the action plan that is recorded. Does the course file for the next time the course is offered, when you look at implementation records like teaching diaries, does it show that this think, pair technique has been really implemented there? So, when you plan, you must also show that you have implemented it the next time the course is offered. So, evidence to show that you have planned it and evidence to show that you have implemented it. And of course, you must also do an impact analysis to see whether it has really resulted in the improvement in the attainment of the COs. So, all these activities are involved when we say action taken based on the results of evaluation. So, documentary evidence of identification of gaps, plan of action, then its implementation. In a similar way with respect to POs and PSOs also, except that CO is with a span of 1 semester, because the course duration is typically 1 semester. Of course, it could be a trimester in some particular programs. Whereas, PO and PSO, we are talking of an entire 4-year program through which the students go through, one batch of students. At the end of this 4-year period only, we are able to determine the attainment level of a PO, PSO, because PO, PSO apply to the entire batch of students who have gone through the entire 4 years of the program. So, for a particular batch, we will know the attainment value only at the end of their 4-year period. So, any improvement that we plan will be for the next batch of students. That is, if the current batch is 2005 to 2009, then whatever you plan will be for 2006 to 2010, like that. Okay? 2025 to 2029, then 2026 to 2030, like that. So, one batch, full batch, for that PO, PSO is calculated, and the attainment improvement plans are for the next batch of students. So, there is a difference between the action plan for CO improvement and action plan for PO, PSO improvement. The allocation of marks is 20, again same for tier 1 and tier 2. So, identify the areas of weakness in the program based on the analysis of evaluation of POs and PSO attainment levels. Once again, here it is possible that the actual attainment level of a PO or PSO is higher than the set target level, or is equal to the target level, or less than the target level, which of course is the most frequent case. In all cases, we show what action we are planning to take for the next batch of students. Most often, the attainment level lags behind the target level. So, we need some corrective actions. Of course, if it is able to meet, then we might wish to set the same target level or increase the target level, and we must record the deliberations that have taken place in arriving at that action plan. So, the action plan would include again curriculum intervention or pedagogical initiatives and support system improvements, etc. But notice that when you plan these improvement actions for PO or PSO, you must see the sequencing of these activities. For example, almost it will take 2-3 months after the final exams are over for a particular batch for the PO, PSO competitions to be completed. Final results must be available, and this must be analyzed, and the attainment must be calculated. By that time, the next batch probably is already towards the completion of their 7th semester. So, there is probably not much time left for that batch to go through any improvement actions. So, you must plan all these things carefully, how you wish to take up these improvement plans. Okay. So, these are the marks allocated. Document evidence of identification of gaps 5 marks, plan of action 5, and implementation 10. Here again, once you plan something for the next batch of students or the next batch of students, that is subsequent 3 batches of students, whatever you plan for them, you must show that they are implemented as planned. And of course, worst implementation plans are to simply say that we will motivate the students. As you know, the implementation plan must be specific, doable, measurable, and it must be a clear activity. For example, if there is some problem with the attainment of, let us say, PO9 on communication skills, simply telling the students that you must improve your communication skills is of no use. So, some specific action plan you must include. We have discussed this in the earlier unit. Like for example, you could hold a workshop on communication skills and conducted by suitable faculty or appropriate external agency or appropriate experts, and make the students go through a 3-day or a 5-day workshop on communication skills. It is a very specific program. Or you could set up some suitable software facilities in the labs for self-learning, which provide a good support for language learners. Any of these, but the important point is that they must be doable and specific. So, you must have those plans. So, show the planning of such corrective actions and show that they have been implemented subsequently. So, you must have implementation records also. With respect to any such corrective action for CO or PO or PSO attainments, you must have proper documentary evidence of planning as well as implementation. Then the next important sub-criterion is academic audit and actions taken, that is based on the academic audit, what kind of are actions taken. So, academic audit and actions taken thereof during the period of assessment. 15 marks are allocated, same for both Tier 1 and Tier 2 institutes. Academic audit of systems and process and its implementation in relation to continuous improvement. It is generally a good practice if you have an IQAC to enlist the support of IQAC to develop the academic audit process documents. If you do not have an IQAC, it is good to establish one such center IQAC. Even otherwise, through collective brainstorming, one could arrive at an appropriate academic audit process document. So, the audit process must include several details like objectives of the audit, what is the purpose, why we are doing the audit, unit of audit, what is the unit for the audit that we are taking care of, then assessment criteria, what are the assessment criteria, then frequency of audit, how frequently do we do the audit, once in a semester or once in a year or twice a semester. Composition of the audit teams, does this consist of only the departmental faculty or faculty from other departments or a mix of both departmental and other departmental faculty or external people, or is it a mix of internal and external people? What is the composition of the audit team and the guidelines for the conduct of the audit, then format for reporting the audit results, all these must be included in the audit process document. So, records of the academic audit must be maintained. When did it take place, which was the audit team that was there, and what was the interaction of the audit team with these people, and what are the findings of the audit team, all this must be recorded. And departments must analyze the audit reports, plan actions based on the analysis of the audit reports and implement the actions, and document evidence of both planning the actions, that is analysis, planning the actions and implementing the actions must be available. So, records of all these must be available. Frequency of audit is typically once every semester, but it could be more often or it could be less often. It is left up to the institute. The audit team is generally composed of internal faculty only. However, external members are included in some institutes in an annual audit. That is, the audit is done twice in a year. Once it is all by the internal faculty, but once external faculty take the audit. It all depends upon the practices at the institute level. Most important, whether it is external people or internal people, audit must be conducted in the spirit of mutual respect and trust. It must be seen as a process to improve the quality, a joint effort of the auditors and auditee to improve the quality. Auditors must not see this as an opportunity to find fault and criticize the auditees, nor auditees should feel threatened by the mistakes pointed out by the audit team and must not look at them as antagonists. So, it must be done in a spirit of mutual respect and trust, and they must see it as a joint effort to improve the quality. So, assessments during the audit typically address the following academic issues. These are only some of the issues that we are mentioning here. There could be many other issues that will depend on how the institute plans the audit process. COs of all the courses, their target levels, attainment levels, and action plans based on the gap analysis. So, the audit team can look at all this information. They may look at all the courses or select courses, but they will look at this data. Then CO, adequacy of the quality of the COs and their mappings to POs and PSOs. How good are the mappings? So, CO, PO, PSO mappings. Then target levels. What are the target levels set for COs, POs and PSOs? What are the attainment levels? The gap analysis and the consequent action plans with respect to POs and PSOs. In fact, these are all the criteria that we just saw belong to the entire accreditation process itself. So, during the audit, if we do all these things, then we are well prepared to face the visiting team during accreditation. So, that is the purpose of the audit, academic audit internally. Quality of all assessment instruments, internal question papers, end semester question papers, laboratory questions if there are, all these things, internal tests, quizzes, assignments, end semester examinations for Tier 1 institutes. So, quality of all these assessment items, quality both with respect to the nature of the assessment item as well as its mapping to the COs. Also, the coverage of all the COs over all the assessment instruments taken together, all these issues are discussed. Then process of validation of assessment instruments, they really do address the COs. Is the evaluation proper? Then for seminars, mini projects, main projects, etc., have appropriate rubrics been developed and deployed. So, rubrics for these things, or if there is a project based instruction initiative launched, are the rubrics developed and are they appropriate? Have they been really deployed well? Then conduct of laboratories, actions implemented by the department based on the report of the previous academic audit. Once again, the audit is a mere exercise in paperwork if the departments do not act on that. So, when the previous audit took place, they must have made certain suggestions. What actions did the department plan and which of those plans really got implemented by the time the current audit is taking place. So, actions implemented by the department based on the report of the previous academic audit, that also will be examined in the current audit. This is, as I mentioned, the list is illustration purposes only. The specific details of the process will definitely vary from institute to institute. It depends upon their perception of how the academic audit should be conducted. So, availability of external academic audit process, there are marks for that, 2 marks. Plan of action to address the recommendations. What are the recommendations of the audit activity? Then the record of actions, corrective measures taken during the assessment period. It is not enough to have an audit done and recommendations given by the audit team and recording some plan of action. We must actually implement those corrective measures. So, record of actions, corrective measures taken during the assessment period, that carries 10 marks, and we must have documentary evidence for all these things. And the documentary evidence must include the audit process document and whether all the relevant details like assessment criteria, frequency, conduct mechanism, action plan based on the audit, implementation, effectiveness, all these things will be examined by the visiting team. We must have documentary evidence for all this. Then we go to the improvement in faculty qualification and contributions, 15 marks for Tier 1 and 10 for Tier 2 institutes. Assessment is based on improvements in the qualifications and publications with respect to the department. So, over the period, has there been a consistent improvement in the quality of the publications, number of publications, or the qualifications of the faculty? Some of those with MTech might have by now acquired the PhD. So, improvements in the qualifications, because you must show that there is an improvement trajectory on which the department is moving. So, over the period of the assessment, that is CAY M1, M2, M3, number of faculty members with PhD degree, how many have completed their PhD during this assessment period, number of publications in peer reviewed journals, how much it was and how it has improved, number of publications in conferences. Again, all these they must show consistent improvement. Unfortunately, if there is a dip in any one of these parameters, like for example, publications in peer reviewed journals or conferences, that is not desirable, but it may happen. Facts are facts. Then do not hide the facts, but try to analyze why that happened. Record your brainstorming showing the analysis process and explain the result of your analysis and show the action plan that you are initiating to improve the publications or any other parameter in the next year. So, if there is a dip, do not hide it and do not try to provide some kind of excuses for it. Face it, analyze it, plan for improvement for the next year. Whatever be the realistic scenario, that must be presented. So, this information must be provided and the evaluation is based on the improvements. So, we look at the improvements in all these parameters, faculty qualifications, contributions, etc., over a 3-year period. For this purpose of looking at the improvement, we consider CAY minus 3 as the base year. So, treating that as a base year, what were the faculty qualifications in that base year? What are the publications in peer reviewed journals in that base year? What is the number of publications in conferences? So, for all these we take CAY minus 3, that is CAY M3 as the base year. So, taking that as the reference, what has been the improvement in the next 3 years? CAY M3 to CAY M2, CAY M2 to CAY M1, CAY M1 to current academic year. So, over this period, what has been the improvement? Improvement in the faculty qualifications, how many have received the PhD degrees, improvement in the publications in the peer reviewed journals, improvements in the number of publications in conferences. So, treating CAY M3 as the base year determine the improvements, and based on the perception of the visiting committee regarding the quality and quantity of the improvements, marks are awarded. But remember that the base year is CAY M3. Then the allocation of marks is 10 for Tier 1 and 15 for Tier 2 in the next sub criterion, which is improvements in the academic performance. This is the last sub criterion for that. Provide details of improvement in academic performance of first year, second year and third year students during the assessment period. So, provide the data as indicated in this table. So, we know already how to compute the academic performance index. So, API of the first year students in the program. In sub-criterion 4.3 we have seen how to calculate that. Then API of second year students, sub-criterion 4.4 we saw that. Academic performance index of the third year students, in sub-criterion 4.5 we saw that. So, over this period how this API has been increasing. Once again the base year is CAY M3, the last column here, that is the base year. What were the API values for first year, second year and third year in CAY M3? Then in the next year CAY M2, what has been the improvement in the API values? Then in the next year CAY M1, what is the improvement? So, improvement in academic performance over a 3-year period, again the quantum by which the improvement took place and how the visiting team looks at these improvements, this is all subject to perception involved, though the marks are listed, how many marks would be awarded depends upon the perception of the visiting team. So, improvement in the API of first year students 3 marks, API of second students 3 marks, API of third year students of the program 4 marks. So, documentary evidence of improvements in classrooms, academics as well as research laboratories and simulation tools, emulators, any other developmental tools, use of digital tools, interactive whiteboards and other devices aimed to enhance the learning experience etc., will be examined by the visiting team. That is, how did the improvement in API take place? What additional initiatives were taken by the department to improve the academic performance index of the students? So, assessment is based on the improvement of APIs with CAY M3 considered the base year, but how did this improvement take place? What kind of a documentary evidence exists of the improvements of the facilities? Facilities in the classrooms, for example, smart classrooms, interactive whiteboards. What are the initiatives which are taken with respect to providing these things? They all will be examined by the visiting team and based on all these they will form an opinion of how many marks to be awarded for the improvement in the APIs. Once again here also, unfortunately for whatever reason, if there is a dip in the API, do not hide the fact, do not give excuses, face the fact, explain the reasoning, why it has happened, you are brainstorming. For example, a sudden change in the curriculum of the university has taken place and the faculty had time to did not have enough time to adjust to the new faculty, new curriculum. There could be any reason. It is not an excuse, nor it is hiding the facts, but face it truthfully and try to explain why the dip happened and what action plans you are initiating to get back onto the track. Show that you are on development trajectory. The most important is never hide the facts. Documents are available, the visiting team can see. So, frankly face it, ensure that you have taken actions to restore your growth trajectory for the students. So, that is how the marks are awarded and of course, refer to the NBA website updates for detailed breakup of the marks for Tier 2 institutes. This is important. So, notice that you must show that whatever be the current level, we are trying to improve on that from year to year. We are on a growth trajectory. Demonstrating that is much more important than the absolute values of these parameters. Demonstrating that we are consistently improving our performance is much more important than the actual absolute numbers in the perception of the visiting team. So, with that we conclude the criterion on continuous improvement. In next week, we will look at the last SCR criterion, criterion 9 on student support and governance. So, thank you. We will meet again next week with the last criterion of SCR, criterion 9. Thank you.